Good afternoon, good morning, good day everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Business Service Management in Practice. This webinar is brought to you by the Vivid Business Service Management Special Interest Group. The leaders of the group are Jim Copio, Mark Laird, Sandy Schubert, and myself, Bill Allen. I will be doing the hosting and moderating of today's webinar. I am the Business Alliances Director at eView Technology, and we're based in Raleigh, North Carolina in the States. Our company is focused on bringing products to the market that add IBM mainframes and IBM AS400s to HP's BSM software. Today's presenter is Mark Laird, Group Technical Architect at Steria Limited. He currently works for Steria, providing pre-sales technical support across a number of key partners, including HP Software. He started in the IT industry in 1988 as a junior mainframe capacity planner, working for Thorn EMI Software. Since then, Mark has held a variety of technical and managerial roles within managed services organizations. He is a very effective communicator, and for the last 7 years has been key to rolling out HP software within Steria in the UK, as well as across the rest of the countries in Europe. This rollout has included HP Business Service Manager for Dashboard, HP Operations Manager, HP SideScope for the monitoring, and HP Network Node Manager, and HP Network Automation for network management. Mark regularly presents at HP events, showcasing what Steria is doing with HP software for itself and for its customers. Mark is also a member of the HP Customer Advisory Board for Business Service Management. Before we turn it over to Mark, a couple housekeeping items I'd like to cover. Today's live session is intended for all Vivid members, and we'll be making a recording of this session, which will be posted in the webinar section of the Vivid website a few days after the webinar. We'll send you the link via email once these recordings have been posted to the website. If during the session you have any questions, which we'd certainly like to see, please type and send them using the questions pane and the webinar control panel. You should see this pane on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar window. To submit a question, expand the questions pane, type in your question, and then click Send. So let's get started. We'll turn it over to Mark at this time.
Thank you very much, Bill, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for attending. I thought this slide was a very good introduction. Basically, there's gold at the end of the BSM rainbow. Certainly, we've at least managed to get some value out of it. So the agenda for today's webinar, which should last approximately 30 minutes, giving us some time for questions at the end. Quick introduction to Steria itself, our business drivers for business service management, the journey we actually took, the benefits and some of the ROI that we got out of it, how we believe that we've actually delivered value certainly back into the business, some lessons that we've learnt, some current projects, and some future plans. So who is Steria? Since 1969, we've been creating and maintaining IT systems for a number of the world's largest companies. We're an IT-enabled business service deliverer, and we are a trusted transformation partner for a number of private public sector organisations across the globe, especially in Europe. There are 20,000 people working for Steria. Our revenue in 2012 was 1.8 billion euros, and we've been operating for some more than 43 years now. So what do? We have 4 key areas that we work in: infrastructure management, applications management, consulting and systems integration, and business process outsource. And from those, the IT consulting systems integration is probably the largest of the revenue areas. So in terms of who do we work for, without sort of naming too many names, the top 10 European banks, top 4 European utility companies, a number of the European telcos, and quite a range of European organisations, including NATO and Eurocontrol. And just to show that we're not just a pure IT company, we also have we subscribe to organisations such as the CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project, and actually in 2013 managed to achieve a perfect score of 100A, which is the highest you can get, and one of only 11 companies in the world that have actually scored that perfect score. So this shows that we're not just an IT company, but we actually we put a certain amount of information back into the environment, or back into sustainability and to our corporate and social responsibility projects. So, the business service for business drivers for business service management. So, there were probably 3 key drivers for changing the way we worked. Firstly, our customers, i.e. our staff, were reporting issues, and we were essentially using our own staff as the monitors. We were unable to diagnose faults when they did occur, and it was a challenge to determine what the root cause was, whether it was the network, the application, or a local site issue. We were also unable to determine the impact of an event. A lot of time and effort was spent establishing root cause before the problem could be rectified. Secondly, we needed to be able to measure the performance and availability of our corporate IT services across a number of locations and for a range of different service types. We have a mix of applications using a variety of monitoring, or no monitoring at all in some cases, unfortunately. We have local in-country applications, for example our recruitment application, developed and operated out of the UK. We have a number of centralised on-premise applications, for example our service desk happens to run on HP Service Manager. And we use a range of software as a service applications, for example our expenses system. And finally, the third strand was that users were complaining about poor performance, and the user experience across countries and sites varied wildly. We also had new services being rolled out with no ability to baseline the performance or the ability to agree service levels with our application providers and with our internal customers before they were rolled out. So, how did we do it? The first deployment that we did was a small deployment driven out of the UK. We were already a user of the older HP OpenView Internet Services, OVIS solution, and so we already had a relationship with HP. And because we already had a similar product, it was actually a migration path for licenses, which made it less expensive for us to implement the solution. So we were also, and again there are a number of strands to this, we were also a Mercury partner and had people with coding skills for BSM and the virtual user generator technology. So we started off with our small deployment in India. It was based on our migrating our OVIS licenses. And we selected 8 applications that we felt represented a cross-section of the services that were delivered to our internal staff. For those applications, we agreed business processes that were completely repeatable, but were still representative of what users did in the real world. We selected 9 key sites in the UK and India, where we knew that we had knowledgeable on-site staff who we were able to use for support. And we were also able to use those to compare our probe results with what was actually happening in the real world. The project itself was funded by the UK Area Information Systems team, AIS, it's our internal management team, because they were the ones who were feeling the pain. They were the ones who the users were complaining to on a regular basis that the services that they were being delivered or were being delivered from the UK weren't acceptable. We supported the project with an ROI analysis using the HP Alinea tool and with a small proof of concept run internally. Over the past year, we've had organic growth based on word of mouth. We now maintain 20 applications from an end user perspective, and we have probes across 28 sites in the UK, India, and a number out in our European organisation. Our UK customer and our application providers get weekly and monthly reports on performance for the key applications, and the application owners can have more if they wish. So, looking back at those 3 business requirements, the first was using our own staff as monitors. Using HP's Business Service Manager, we can now see where the problems are, both from a performance perspective and from an availability perspective. The view that you can see on the screen here is actually taken from the live system, and it's displayed on our operations centres both in the UK and in Poland, which is our global delivery centre. It's on our internal customer's desk, and it's also integrated into our service management system. So the team can actually diagnose the underlying issue much more quickly and also get a better idea of the impact of a problem. With the grid layout, it's very easy to see at a glance whether it's an application issue or a network issue. And they can also see whether there's more than one site impacted or whether a site has lost access to a number of applications. The benefit for that, and going back to our 3 key requirements, is that monitoring of services is now standardized, regardless of the platform or provider. We monitor web services, SaaS-based services, such as our expenses system. We monitor the applications, regardless of whether they're in-house developed or off-the-shelf applications, and they're all done in the same manner. And the location doesn't matter either. We have probes in 28 locations, but we're also able to run the services from a number of Steria data centers, which means that we can monitor right from the application itself to what's actually delivered out to the real world. Cost of monitoring has also been reduced dramatically due to a reduction in the time that it takes us to develop the monitoring. The probes are already in place. It's just a case of developing the transactions. Better integration with our other teams, such as our testing team, who are also big users of the HP software solutions, such as the Applications Lifecycle Management solution, has actually managed to cut down the time that it takes us to develop code and scripts. And our internal customers now have a choice of using all of the probes or just a selection, for example, just within their own country. The other real-world benefits is the time it's taken, an improvement in the time it's taken for us to recover the service. Because less people are now involved in diagnosis and triage, we're able to pinpoint the cause faster and get the service recovered with less downtime. And this obviously has a significant benefit to our users. Because we can also see slowdowns in service, we have the ability to resolve issues before they impact users. The second key benefit is our ability to use the inbuilt reporting to improve the service performance, because it allows us to make a comparison between the different locations. We have been able to use this to eliminate a number of underlying network and application issues. Both of these have enabled us to improve the user experience. For one application, for example, shown here, we've actually managed to improve the user experience over the past year by over 30%. This is through identifying a number of underlying network issues, through identifying a number of underlying application issues, and actually just by general improvement in the overall solution itself. There's nothing here that's actually did it. So we've not actually used HP Business Service Manager to improve the network or to improve the applications, but it's actually allowed us to talk to the application providers, to go and talk to the network providers, and actually improve their services. And as we can see here, we've actually got the data to prove it. That we started at the beginning of the year for Manchester, for example, at just under 20 seconds, and we ended the year for Manchester at just under 10. We know, for example, from this graph that we have a network performance with our Indian probes. Most of our servers are based in the UK, particularly for this application. And we know that there is a latency between our Indian and European offices. And one of the things that we're working on as part of a solution for 2014 is what we can do internally to actually improve that network access. What we've also been able to, as a side benefit, is actually be able to demonstrate the impact both positively and very negatively, as we can see from this graph, the impact of change. This example was where we had a network change, although it was tested as part of the installation, it had a significant issue when the user load was applied on a Monday morning. We do also have positive examples where we've been able to show that changes have had a positive impact on the service performance. These are both possible because we've had a baseline of the normal service against which to measure. Finally, an unforeseen benefit was the ability to use the impact reporting when we were negotiating with suppliers. In 2012, our three offices in Noida, Pune and Chennai in India, who use services that are hosted in our French data center, were all impacted by a network outage when an underwater cable was damaged. And as you can see from the graph, although the network, the application was still performing, it was not performing at the rate that it had been doing. We were actually able to have a sensible conversation then with our network provider about ongoing charges until the problem was fixed. And we knew at the time the problem wasn't going to be fixed immediately. Underwater cables are, as you can imagine, not the quickest things to be repaired. But it gave us the ability to actually have that sensible conversation. So, our lessons learned. Would we do it again? Very definitely. We've actually managed to pull a lot of information out of the system. We've taken a number of benefits, as we've shown from some of the graphs that we've seen. And would we do it in the same way? Yes. Keeping the initial installation small enabled us to demonstrate value quite early on. We were able to actually work with certainly at the time, the UK team, to show that what we were doing was having a positive effect. We delivered it in small, manageable pieces, so we didn't take a big bang approach. This was very definitely a deliver something quite early on and keep eating away at the problem. And we've taken that approach over the last year as we've rolled out additional probes, as we've rolled out additional monitoring to new services. In fact, we've had a number of service requests back from internal teams who've come back and said, "We'd like more monitoring, please. We'd like to see more. We'd like more detail." What were the downsides? What were the things that we didn't get quite so well? Firstly, we didn't involve our test and application teams early enough. We took the approach that from an operational perspective, we knew the applications well enough. They were applications that we used as part of our day jobs. But we also decided that we could write UGen scripts, and we've learned now that we're not very good at it. But the test teams, the application application teams who use Vue.jn as part of Quality Center and the Applications Lifecycle Management Suite. They know how to write it much better. And what we've also done is to introduce solutions where, when they're using Vue.jn as part of load tests, as part of the application development cycle, we actually get those scripts passed across now. So don't underestimate the time it takes to write the transactions and test them, and make sure they're bug-free, and make sure that they will cope with all the challenges that websites will throw at them. They have to be robust. If you can eliminate false positives in the testing phase, they will serve you much better in the future. And the last one is very definitely a sort of user training, user mentality piece. Teach the business that the 30-second transaction recorded with Business Service Manager is fine, because it's a business process. It will be a number of steps through a process, through log on, bring up, for example, an expenses page, maybe navigate through half a dozen other pages, and then log off. So taking 30 seconds to do that isn't a bad thing, but it is a bad thing if it took 5 seconds yesterday. So what are we doing next? What are the things that we've got on the pipeline? Well, firstly, we're going to extend the number of probes. We've identified a range of European offices and a couple of our offices out in Singapore and Hong Kong, where we're going to extend out the probes. We're looking at both physical. We actually recycle a number of old desktops and laptops as probes. But for some of those locations, we're actually also using virtual environments. So we're using virtual desktops, and those actually give us a lot more control when it comes to the management of them. We can rebuild them much easier remotely. We're going to extend the services being monitored. So all new corporate applications are now monitored using Business Service Manager. We roll that out. They're built in as part of the applications going out. We're going to rewrite a number of our less stable transactions. Over time, as the applications have upgraded, we've actually identified a couple of the transactions that are becoming less stable, and we will actually put those back into our testing service line to have those rewritten. And we're also extending this out to a number of customers. We work with a number of UK customers who are already using this, and we're extending that out to a wider range of customers. One of our current projects, this is our intranet for the UK, and what we've actually done in the, as you can see, I'll make it a bit bigger, in the bottom left-hand corner, we've got an old version of Business Availability Center, so version 8. We actually have the data from Business Availability Center displayed live on our corporate intranet for everybody to see. The reasoning behind that was that users, again, so long as they could get onto the corporate systems, the users can actually see the health of the environments, the services that they're using. They can actually drill through and look at the health by site. And it's actually had a reduction in the number of users that are calling the service desk to report a problem. Our Business Availability Center Business Service Manager is integrated with our service desk. So as soon as problems are identified, tickets are actually raised. So we're encouraging our users to become a bit more intelligent, a bit more self-aware, and we've seen a reduction in service desk tickets because of that. And some future projects that we're looking at, we're in the process of rolling out BSM 9.2. So it's in pilot, it's actually up and running. We actually have our probes now connected to both systems, so probes, we've kept the same probes around the environment, and we're running transactions on those probes, but pointing them out to both of our two environments. New platform is it's Windows. The old platform was running on Solaris. We've gone for SQL rather than Oracle, and it's multi-tenanted. So there's a few challenges in replatforming. And the approach that we're taking is that we're going to migrate probes and scripts, and we're going to run them in parallel. We took the decision that it just wasn't going to be feasible for us to actually do an upgrade in place. So we're taking the approach to run them in parallel, and we just turn the old system off. We're going to integrate all of our existing monitors into Business Service Manager. Some of these, quite a number of these already done, but we still have a few standalone deployments. So Operations Manager, SiteScope, and our network monitoring will be integrated. We're working with our service management team for a much tighter integration with Service Desk, and we're going to improve the integration we have with our testing teams around applications lifecycle management. We're working with HP at the moment around a pilot for operations analytics using the New Haven platform. We have, as an HP, we are largely based around HP software from a services perspective. So we have a large number of those building blocks. We want to make much more use of the information. And we're also going to deploy HP Anywhere to give mobile access, especially to platforms such as Business Service Manager, and the ALM space. Right, at this point, I'm going to hand back to Bill and see if we've had any questions in the question box.
Looks like you got a question there, Mark.
Okay, so we've got a question here. Was that the performance dashboard? Was the performance dashboard created in BSM? Yes, all of the slides or all of the screenshots I've shown were created directly from Business Service Manager. The only one that wasn't was the one with the underwater cable. Unfortunately, we only keep a year's worth of data in our system. So that data had disappeared, but that's been recreated from older reports. But all of the other dashboards are created. We're actually from our live Business Availability Center system. The one showing sites, services by sites, is actually being replaced in Business Service Manager 9.2. There is a transactions by location display that will give a very similar, in fact it actually gives the same type of information, but it actually gives a lot more detail. But you can, if you want, create a custom map. We're educating our customer at the moment to go through the transaction by location. It's a much more detailed screen, and there's actually less maintenance when we add transactions, we add locations. There's a second question. How did we get the applications teams to help with UGen scripting? Any secrets that we can share? Not really, other than we actually sat them. I suppose we took two approaches. The first one was sort of top-down. We got our senior directors. We're quite lucky in that our testing service line, our application service line, and our infrastructure service line all actually come under one director. So we were actually able to get a top-down push into getting everybody to work together to provide that sort of community for when we developed applications. The other approach, I suppose, was that was the stick. The carrot was we took them all out for a drink one evening and persuaded them to talk to each other. I can't say which worked best. There's another question. What was the elapsed time for the first phase of the rollout? So because we took let's deliver bits and pieces as we go along, I would suggest that the first phase probably took us maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months after we've got sort of commercial agreement to move ahead. We were quite lucky. We run all of this on a virtual platform. Both the current live platform, BAC8, and the new version, BSM 9.2. They're all run on virtual platforms. So actually building the environments was relatively straightforward. Once we've got a sort of a commercial agreement from our internal teams to pay and to cross-charge for people's time. So yeah, probably 6 to 8 weeks for the initial platform build and getting some of those initial probes and scripts rolled out. We probably ran it for, I would say, 6 months, and then just ironing out a few bugs and getting people used to the system. And we've basically taken that on and gone from strength to strength over the last year. Another question here, is OMI integrated with BSM? If so, are app downtimes integrated so as not manually configure downtime on BSM? On the current system, the system I've been showing you here, we don't have OMI because this is still on BAC8. On one of our other systems, we do have OMI, and we actually configure. Yes, we do configure application downtime within BSM. Or we actually still configure it within BSM rather than OMI. We've just found that it fits better with our process. But that might not, again, it fits for us, it may not fit for everybody. Another question here, don't see any mention of the use of RUM. That's an interesting question. So, do we have any plans for it? Currently, no. We have a couple of customers of ours who use RUM independently of us. We've always steered away from it, primarily because of the way that the HP licensing used to work. Now I know it's changed. I know it's now on a per application basis. We only really have one core corporate application, which is our service desk, where we would potentially use Real User Monitor, and it is something that's being vaguely investigated. But we will, when we run out of other things to do, we may look at RUM. But as we have a list of an arm's length of things to do, I can't see RUM in the near future, but plans may change. Have we experienced any issues running BSM in a virtual environment? The honest answer is no. We probably emphasize the servers, that we take the sort of the 50% rule that HP have always said in their documentation. But no, we've not had any major issues running BSM. Certainly that I'm aware of. The databases are generally physical servers. Certainly the Oracle environments that we had were physical servers, but we run Microsoft SQL in our virtual environment supporting BSM. That said, the platforms probably aren't highly loaded, but we're running them on. I'm trying to think how much memory is assigned. They're probably up at the top end of the HP recommendations in terms of sizing. So no, it's not caused us any issues, but we do keep an eye on it. What were the major challenges the team faced in developing the runtime service model? Interesting question. We've only got one. We've got one key deployment of RTSM. That's actually run. We deployed it a couple of years ago for a customer in Norway, and the approach we took there was actually we do all of our sort of configuration side is all done in the universal CMDB. So we have discovery probes feeding the CMDB. I'm using RTSM to feed BSM with updates, and the CMDB is also then feeding Service Manager. Other than that, we don't have any other. That's sort of the extent of the integration. Next question: did you have HP or vendors deploy BSM or use internal? If you use internal, how much staff do you have on your BSM team and HP tools team? used primarily internal people. We have a very good relationship with HP, certainly for the UK and France, and we've had access to a number of HP specialists. But no, primarily we've used our own internal people. We have centres of excellence in the UK and France. The UK team is 6 people. The French team is 4 people. So those are just supporting essentially operations manager, site scope, and business service manager. It's a different story for the service management platform. We have a much bigger team supporting that, and we used HP to help us deploy. But it's a much bigger environment. We're supporting 200 customers on it. We're probably close to probably 1 million contacts in it. So it's a very, very large service management platform. So, but that's another story entirely. Can we do topology-based correlation of events generated by BPM using OMI TVEC? Honest answer is I don't know. We don't today. It is something that we're looking at. I can't see why you shouldn't be able to, because from an OMI perspective, it's just another event. The event coming from BPM is just another event. But I don't work for HP, so I can't honestly say that whether you can or can't. It isn't something we do at the moment. Bill, I can't see any more questions. Are there any more questions out there?
Nope, that's all we've seen.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. That was excellent. Obviously, some good information, and people were interested and gave you some good questions with regard to your experiences. Before we turn everybody loose, I want to pass on the news that on March 18th, Vivit will be hosting a BSM software product updates webinar. In this webinar, we will have HP product managers. We'll be discussing about enhancements to BSM software products and their plans. Please, we'd like you to register and join us. Christoph Pfister, Ashish Kuthelia, and several others will be leading this conversation. And following that, we'll have a live Q&A session as we did today. We certainly hope you can join us. Find more information about this event and the registration link in the community calendar at the Vivit website. Again, thank you for attending today's webinar, and please be sure to complete the short survey at the end of the webinar. And I'll remind you once more that the recording from this webinar and the slide deck will be posted on the Vivit website, and we'll be sending you an email in the next few days with information and links to that recording and the deck. Thank you very much, and with that, that'll be it. Appreciate your all participation.
Thank you, everybody.